Welcome to Ask the Accountant, the podcast that is made for you. Weekly podcast live Mondays from 8:30 a.m., released on the podcast service of your choice on Wednesdays. Your main weekly hosts, Aaron, Patrick, and Johann. Got something to ask? Submit your questions below or ask during the show. Podcast loading. We are currently getting everything set up behind the scenes, so sit back, relax, and we will be with you in a few seconds. Enjoy.
Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to today's episode of Ask the Accountant. We are on number 34. The date is the 12th of June, 2023, and we have an event all about events. Well, we have a podcast all about events. So we've got Digital Accounting Show. We've got a bit of a recap on WWDC. We've also got a bit of news over from HMRC about making taxes and how well they did. So we give a round of applause on that one. Maybe, maybe not. And then we're going to talk about ChatGPT and how it's one step closer for taking over the world. With me, as always, is my co-host, Johann. Johann, how has your weekend been?
Good morning, Aaron. Yeah, very quiet weekend, very chilled. Been playing with a few new toys like the ChatGPT update. I've got a new speed editor for video editing. So watch out for bulk dumps of videos coming for Client Engager. But yeah, very relaxed and chilled out weekend, ready for the week ahead because it's going to be a busy one.
It certainly is, and we're going to talk all about it. I think for you, though, like, that's a bit scary, isn't it? That Client Engager is doing so many updates that you've had to invest in new hardware just to keep up on the updates that are coming through. I mean, if that's not telling you to maybe slow it down a little bit, I don't know what is. So yeah, that sounds good. My weekend was good fun as well. I did a bit of a pre-recce for this week actually. So we'll talk about it a little bit during the show. But we've got an exciting Friday planned where we're going to be bringing some cool friends onto Ask the Accountant. So I thought, what best thing to do? QuickBooks wanted to do a little case study on me, so I headed down to London anyway. I had a bit of stuff to pick up, so I picked up a bit of stuff, podcasting gear and whatnot. And I thought, you know what, let's head over to Brewdog, where we film the Ask the Accountant. We have cool friends and try a bit of bowling and all sorts. And it was good fun. Yeah, we really, really enjoyed it. In fact, one day we're going to have to figure out how to incorporate that into We Have Cool Friends. I think it was very, very... I've got a feeling somehow, some way, if we ever do like a meetup for Ask the Accountant, it has to be there. Like, yes. I think we've just,
completely agree. Yeah, it's got to be there, and we need to have Ask the Accountant. We've got Cool Friends Bowling League. We need to have, there's just so many different things to do there. We could quite easily fill an afternoon and an evening there.
Yeah. I completely agree. And the Speakeasy Bar was still there, which is a secret that only us Ask the Accountant people pretty much know about. As always, this show is nothing without you guys, so thank you for coming along and joining us. We've got Merlin in the chat. Good morning to you as well. Glad to see you're here bright and early in a very warm day, actually, isn't it? So yeah, that'll be we're good to see what you've got to say for the rest of the day. Adam is here as well. Morning, lads. Good morning to you too, sir. And then Paul, as always, is here. So great to see you this bright and early today, Paul. Right then, if you've got any questions, don't forget to put them in the comments box. If you're listening back to us live from any of the podcast services, why not join us live? We go live 8:30 a.m. on a Monday morning for your listening pleasure. Johann, we have T-minus, I was going to do the hours, but let's just do days. We've got 3 days to go, haven't we, until our next event of the year, Digital Accounting Show, goes live. And there's a lot of buzz around it this year, isn't there? There's a lot of people getting excited. Now, let's first of all start with a public service announcement. If, like me, you've sat there and saw all of their wonderful presentations and marketing material, and you've gone, I'm really excited about the location of this year's Digital Accounting Show and really can't wait and really buzzed about going and walking around a historic monument like the Battersea Power Station, then stop. Stop and read your invitation properly, because it's not quite there. It's kind of I think it's it's a walking distance, right? But it's not actually at the power station. So yeah, if you turn up and start wandering around the power station looking for Digital Accounting Show, you might want to leave and then go into the park, and you'll find from there. But apart from that, it's looking like an absolute banger, isn't it? We were privileged enough, being one of the talk speakers, to get a little behind the scenes of what they've got planned and everything else. And we won't spoil anything, but yeah, they've got some amazing little niblets. And I think it's what they do best, right? They're not Accountex, they're not Accountancy Web Live. They are their own little thing, and they've always tried to be that, right? And I think that's what they've got planned, and what they're looking to do is definitely going to be excited about. So, Johann, do you want to talk about, first of all, what your day is looking like? Because I feel like you've got
my day is looking like...
you won't be watching many other people, right?
No, I mean, my day's ridiculously busy as always. I've got 3 different speaking slots. Well, no, I have 1 speaking slot with Aaron for Ask the Accountant. We're going to be interviewing Jordan Vickery. We're going to be talking to him about the importance that hosting events could have for the accountants to build the network of their clients, and the value that can bring to an accounting firm, which I'm really looking forward to. I did a lot of that kind of thing before COVID. I've not really started it back up again. But I really should, because the value it adds is enormous. So we've got that. And then I am on a panel to discuss growth through acquisitions, and how to exit your business through selling through an acquisition, with another 2 absolutely fantastic accountants that have grown through acquisitions themselves, led by James, who's going to be the chair of the panel, as it were.
Awesome.
And then
you going to name drop the other accountants? Who we got?
If I could remember them.
Okay, moving swiftly on.
Yeah, moving on. Sorry, it's Monday morning. We have a look at my LinkedIn posts. They're all over that. They're all tagged. And then we've got. Then I'm doing a fireside chat style conversation with Steve from Employment Hero about the importance of having a modern tech stack. As well. And then you and I have got a ton of social media content to create that we keep talking about.
Yeah, we certainly do. I love the fireside chat. I think that's one of my favorite parts about Digital Accounting Show. I just feel like they've taken a concept of just let's have a frank conversation, but they've really just made it into such a welcoming environment. I think that's what they do really well. And full disclosure for both of us, this is our second for both of us, right? You were at the first one, missed the second one. I missed the first one at the first. So for both of us, we're going in kind of knowing a little bit what to expect, kind of hyped up for it, but also we're fully aware that this is them taking the next step. So yeah, but I know that things like the fireside chat are going to be, that comfort blanket that we know and love, and I'm looking forward to kind of doing that. And if I do get a chance to go and see anyone or catch any chats, the fireside chats are normally ones I'll go out my way for.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard much about kind of main stage or anything, which I do like the fact that this has a main stage. I think that's what's missing from some of the events, right? The fact that there's not this, right, there's nothing else on, there's nothing clashing. Everyone get together for the main stage, and I love that. And I'm excited for what those main stages are going to bring. And then for that, like you said, for the content we've got planned, as always, we've probably planned a little bit too much, but hey, we'll try and get as much as we can. And I feel like more than anything, we want to try and get that grid walk up and running again, because I seem to be excited. Yeah. Being a digital accounting show and digital, we were talking off air, weren't we, about how it looks like there's maybe no more of the paper.
I just love the fact that you're sat at home with your badge around your neck.
I leave tomorrow, so I've got to get packed, got to get this ready. But apparently, this is no more. It's all digital going forward. So I assume that means that we've got to get our phone around our neck and just put it around. Is that what you're doing?
With the screen always on. If your phone doesn't die quickly at a conference, it will after that.
So yeah, I assume that's what you're supposed to be doing. Otherwise, how are you going to know who's everyone's name is?
Well, that's it.
You have it on your shoulder if you take that shirt, and I'll have it on mine. But yeah, apart from that, people are going to struggle. People are coming in, dripping in. Susan, hello, good morning to you both. Thank you for coming along. Bev, hello, how are you doing? And Paul says we'll be relying on you guys for all the after show stuff. Can't make Daz. No, Paul, what is going on? Speaking of the after show, and nice little segue that. Thank you, Paul. It's looking like a very good after show party being set up, especially if you look at some of the kind of people who are behind it as well. We should be in for an exciting time. I do miss though. One of the benefits of the location last year was we got to leave the stadium after going to the is it Europe's longest bar or world's longest bar or UK's longest bar?
Yeah, so because it used to be at Twickenham Stadium, didn't it?
No, was that the first year?
No,
Tottenham.
Yeah. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is technically the most technology advanced football stadium or sports stadium in the UK, at least, if not the world at one point.
Because now it's got a track underneath, right? It's got a go-kart track.
And then you'd go downstairs to what is said to be the world's longest bar.
Is it world?
Is it world or is it the UK's longest bar?
Europe.
Either way.
Something's longest bar.
Something's longest bar. Tottenham's longest bar.
Tottenham's longest bar,
we can claim that. Where you'd have a couple of pints from that bar, and then we'd all basically go across the road to a craft beer
to Beavertown
room, basically.
Yeah,
and that's my kind of beer. Like that is a good event. So it'll be a shame not to have that this year, but I'm sure they've organised something equally as good for this year.
Yeah, maybe they've figured out how to get Beavertown over to the venue. Maybe we'll find out. But yeah, and we've got DJ here, and we've got all sorts. It's going to be a very, very good time had by all. Well, hopefully not too good, because the day after we've got a lot of podcasting to do, and we've already been pre-warned, shall we say, of that some of our attendees may not be arriving dead on time as they crawl out ready for the day ahead. So Bev's looking forward to the Daz after show this time, and hopefully she'll be allowed in this one. Oh, controversial there, Bev. But yes, let's fingers crossed. We'll be fighting for your corner if you're not allowed into this one. Don't you worry. And Kirsty says, "Good morning to you too, Kirsty." So, Digital Accounting Show 2023, and what are you looking forward to out of this one? For me, like Digital Accounting Show is that one that obviously it's designed primarily to not showcase the big boys. It is designed to give you an opportunity to see some of the up and coming, more plucky vendors. And I love that about this show. You know, you don't have these huge, massive, what do you call it? Stands that are just completely taken over. You know, the Starship's landed and that takes over. This one kind of gives, there are a few kind of bigger ones and smaller ones, but mostly you kind of give everyone a bit of an equal playing field, don't you?
Yeah, it's definitely a more level playing field. It's not as mentally busy or huge as Accountex, and I think that's a really good thing. Like when I speak to a lot of software providers, they say that Digital Accountancy Show is the better show for a return on investment out of the lot, because they can have higher quality conversations.
Yeah.
And because Digital Accountancy Show aren't trying to get every single bookkeeper and accountant in the industry into that show, they're really only targeting the more early adopters, tech enthusiastic bookkeepers and accountants who are going there because they do want to discover the next big thing, the softwares that are going to power their new processes and systems. They're going there open to new ideas. Whereas, you know, when you get 10,000 of us together, there's going to be a percentage that are going to whinge and moan at current providers. Why don't you do this? Why does this little thing not work for me? Why can't you do it this way? Because this is my process. You just don't get that vibe at Digital Accountancy Show. It is very much a very filtered audience. And rightly so. You know, it's about you go because you want to embrace digital accounting.
Yeah.
That's why the name is the name. And as you say, it's a much, much more level playing field for everyone. So even the big boys can only have certain size stands, which the majority of people will have. And then they've got really small stands for startups. So it's a great opportunity for them to get out there, or for smaller software businesses. So I know Analytics are going to have a stand there. I think this is the only place they're having a stand.
Oh, wow.
You know, they see huge value in this show compared to any of the other shows they go to. So yeah, it is smaller, but I feel it is a better collection of attendees for quality of networking and the opportunity. Basically, everyone's going with the same goal in mind.
Yeah,
everyone's got the same ethos towards digitalization and accounting and how that can work in the future. And I think that stimulates some fantastic conversations.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think also what I love about this whole the digital aspect of it and everything else is all the talks around that as well.
Yeah.
You will find a lot of forward thinking. And in fact, I remember from last time I walked away, and it was one of those where I listened to the talk before I went on for my talk, and they were talking about ways in which you can improve engagement with your clients and everything else. And it was a throwaway comment, but they talked about how they make sure that, you know, as soon as someone's year end's gone or prior to a year end, they're already automatically booking in a client, and then they've got follow-ups and everything else. And we've always tried to do that, but we didn't automatically do it. And it was one of those conversations where I heard that, kind of had that trigger point, and went over to our practice management solution. I was like, look, is there any way we could do that in there? And then, yeah, they went away. They're not client engaged. They're not built that yet. And we're a year in, but
we released it last week.
But the idea that you can have those conversations, go to the vendor, talk to the vendor, see if they can bring that in, have a look. That's the beauty of it, right? And whereas Accountex and those bigger ones, you have opportunities to do that, but everyone's just so busy. Like, there is no opportunity to properly sit down and have those conversations. Whereas Digital Account Show is all about that. It's about building those relationships, building those networks, and having that better relationship with vendors. And yeah, I'm so excited for it. Especially now, people like Analytics are going to be there as well. I think that's that I didn't realize that people like that would be there, and I think that's huge, right? Because you know, obviously we're biased towards people like QuickBooks and everything else, but we don't learn that much from them at shows. That's not for us anyway. We're not their intended audience, right? Their intended audience are people who may be new to the franchise or not quite using the franchise properly, and it's about bringing that sort of, you know, element to it. And that's why they have such big stands with so many people and so many elements to it. Whereas really, like, this is an opportunity for us to talk to ones who may have the opportunity to get in with QuickBooks a bit better and things like that. And I think that's what excites me the most about it. Jody, or did butcher your name there? Sorry about that. Jody Lee. Good morning to you too. Hopefully you're having a good day. So yeah, it was exciting times. Yeah. But I mean, it starts at what time ever it starts in the morning, whatever it starts, and it ends at night. We would recommend it to everyone, right? There's a new, is it a VIP? So I don't know anyone who's actually gone for that.
It's like a premium pass that you can pay for. And I think the principle behind that is that they will basically provide like a concierge service of making sure if there's someone you want to meet, they will organize that. If there's software providers you want to sit down and have a one-to-one with, they will organize that. So yeah, it's an interesting idea. I think this is the first time they've really pushed it as heavily as they have. So it'd be interesting to get some feedback.
Yeah, I think it's the first year of the VIP-esque. I mean, you get some quality content out of it, don't you? I mean, isn't hours behind the paywall at the moment? That's one of the things you unlock. So yeah, everybody on this call now, get yourself the VIP experience, because that way we might get invited back again. So just pushing it there. But no, it should be a good one. I mean, maybe thinking about it, we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot by also live streaming at the same time. So, but whatever. VIP access to the VIP area. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to Digital Accounting Show. You got any final thoughts on it before we move on to the next topic?
No, I think it's just going to be a very good day. It's going to be a long day for you and me. But, the buzz, the adrenaline we get out of doing this and the social media content we can create and stuff from it, it's just fantastic. And we get to bring all of our toys and use them, for filming and sound and everything. So we get to geek out a little bit. So yeah, it's all good fun. And yeah, hopefully we'll see plenty of our listeners there, and it'd be great to have a chat with them all. And we'll have mics with us at all times, so we'll film anyone that wants to have a chat and an interview with us about the day, about the industry as a whole, whatever it is. So yeah, absolutely fantastic.
I suppose my final thoughts on it is, I wonder if there's any announcements this year. I suppose it's too soon, isn't it, from Accountex to really see much of an announcement. I know Apron put a big put a post out about their new features. They didn't quite tie it to Digital Accounting Show, but they are one of the sponsors of the after party. So I suppose they're going to hopefully be able to talk about it there. Manual payments, group payments by suppliers. So evolution of what they already do. Nothing kind of groundbreaking in that aspect. But it'll be interesting if there is a big announcement or some sort of announcement. We don't tend to get acquisition news or anything like that at this sort of event, do we? It's not really that sort of event. But hopefully, fingers crossed, there'll be some form of announcement from somewhere. So I think that'd be quite cool to
it's more of a platform for the newer start, like for Client Engager, it's one of the platforms we've considered. Do we go live? Do we go to the wider public, as it were? Do we make our first official conference appearance at Digital Accountancy Show next year? Like it's one of those where, because it's smaller and it's more focused on tech, it's a really good opportunity for digital account for any softwares that are launching into the UK market to kind of get their launch officially made there. So it's a good opportunity for those rather than the big boys announcing new toys.
Yeah. And when the big boys announce new toys, we all see about it anyway, don't we? It's the little ones that need that help. April going on the Inspire tour with the ICB to 7 cities. First one in Edinburgh today. Oh, okay. So yeah, hopefully they're not double booked for Digital Accounting Show, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Awesome. Okay, that's a good one. So what else did we have this week? Well, we teased about it this time last week. We talked about the fact that WWDC, which is the Apple event, was on that exact day. I'm wearing my Apple t-shirt just to accommodate show off the actual event itself. So we were all excited, right? We were sat there excited about what was to be announced. There was a few surprises there that we were good to see. A few things that didn't get announced we were maybe hoping for. But for you, what did you feel about the event? Was it what you were hoping for? Hopefully we've inspired a few other people in the chat to listen to as well. So do jump in if there's anything you would you thought was cool that was announced or anything else. But yeah, what was your reactions to WWDC 2023?
I think one of the big wins, I posted about it last week on LinkedIn, was the fact that your iPad can now take a proper web camera and plug that in. So I'm there with my iPad Pro. It's on my little keyboard stand, and I've got a proper decent webcam now sat on top of it for when I'm out and about, and that webcam now sits in my bag. I never used to do video calls from my iPad because it always looked a bit one-sided because of where the camera sits, and that bugged me no end. So I'm really enjoying that. It's enhanced my portable setup no end. Then there's simple wins like on iPad OS, on the iOS 17, you turn your phone over on its side when it's charging, and you get a nice clock and stuff, and it glows red so it doesn't hurt your eyes when you wake up and check the time at night. So yeah, lots of nice little wins there for me. The iPads are getting more and more power from released from them, so we can do more out and about. Like you and I were just talking that, on the train, in theory, I can be sat there now doing video editing from the social content we create on the way home. So yeah, there's a lot of cool little updates there. But I think the big one, which excited you and I equally, was the new headset, which is a lot more AR than VR than I expected. So it's augmented reality, because we were debating this last week, weren't we? Was it?
Yeah.
This is going to be a virtual reality because it's a full surround thing, and it's not going to be augmented reality. But actually, it's a real high blend of both, slightly more towards the augmented reality, actually. And yeah, that excites me from a point of view of, I'm sat here now with an ultra-wide monitor, 2 monitors here, and my laptop. I could get rid of all of that, just have my laptop and my headset and crack on. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Disappointed that it's not coming to the UK for quite a long time. But I think the possibilities of that bit of kit are phenomenal. And if it improves the ability for me to work from my hotel rooms, etc., because I can have all these multiple monitors just through the power of a headset, then I am all up for that. What about yourself, Aaron? Any thoughts, any highlights that I'm...
Yeah, I think for me, the hardware that came out was, it's all going to be nice. If you're not already in the Mac ecosystem, I think that 15-inch MacBook Air personally could be one of the best devices there's ever been.
Yeah, hindsight.
Yeah, exactly. If we weren't already have the equivalent, but in a 2 inches smaller, probably would have jumped on that. But it does feel slightly.
I did the research. I could trade in my 13-inch MacBook Air 2 M2 that I'm running everything off at the moment, and I get £800 back. So okay. Then you look at the 15-inch, something £800 extra for an extra 2 inches, and I'm not sure it's worth it.
Extra 2 inches and 2 extra speakers. That's
2 extra speakers,
for.
Slightly more power, so the battery lasts a little bit longer.
Apparently it doesn't. Apparently it just exactly the same. So
in which case it's not worth it.
Yeah. It's kind of trade-off. Bigger screen, the same battery kind of takes it over. So yeah, but if anyone who doesn't have a MacBook at the moment and is looking to get one, I feel like that's the dream machine, right? An M2 in a fanless design, 15-inch, it kind of ticks all the boxes. And there's for us as accountants, there's not much it can't do at that point. I think it could edit videos for you, especially the short form content. Absolute breeze. It would be an absolute powerhouse to have. And then the other hardware that was announced, there was what's called an M2 Studio, basically the high-end desktops, and then what's called a Mac Pro, which is even higher end, is not designed for us. Like as accountants, I don't actually
point at $7,000.
Yeah, I know. Speaking of digital accounting, Jordan's got one, hasn't he? I every time he posts on his LinkedIn and everything, and he's got his desk everything shown. He always showing that studio that's sat there. It looks very nice. But apart from Jordan, I don't think anyone else in the world needs from an accounting point of view, needs a studio. But it does look, if you are looking for a desktop, you can't go wrong on that one. From a software point of view, though, I think there was a few bits that maybe are kind of went under the radar, which I think will be quite useful. I think from the phone point of view, the idea that it can now transcribe your voicemails, I think that's going to be really useful for business. That idea that you're in a meeting, for example, in a Teams meeting or a client meeting, you have a look at your phone, someone's phoning you, it goes straight to voicemail. You can see what they were on about. Is it something you need to go, look, I'm really sorry, I've just got to take this. This is actually crucially important. Or is it something you can call back later? You're going to be able to make that decision, right? Because the tech is that as they are leaving a voicemail, it's going to transcribe and you're going to be able to see what that voicemail is in real time. That could be a bit of a game changer, right? Yeah. That could be quite cool. Chrissy mentioned she was excited about the fact that when you have like Zoom calls and them sort of calls, have these new features where you can put love hearts all over you and all stuff like that. That will appeal to some, not to others. And I, apart from the widgets idea, which was completely like left field for me, I don't see why you'd want that. It was a bit meh on the software point.
One of the things I missed actually is that ability to now just share your contact details by.
Oh yeah.
So you'll take your phone and basically you're going to go like that, and it will against another iPhone, and it will share your business, like your contact card, your business card. But what I didn't realize is you can do the same thing to an iWatch.
Oh, okay.
So someone doesn't need to get their phone out. If you've got your phone out, you can just go like that to their iWatch, and it should transfer your contact details, which is quite cool.
I like that a lot. And what that does mean as well is you're eliminating the Android users, which I'm all up for. If I can get rid of, there's a way I could say, oh, sorry, you have an Android. I can't do business with you. Sorry.
Can't work with Androids.
Yeah, then I'm all up for. So, yeah.
That's quite the line. I don't know if I can fall in sync with that one. That's divisive.
Well, yeah. So yeah, no, that is actually quite a good one. Goodbye business cards, unfortunately. And I feel sorry for Charlie, who's just printed out all those QR codes for his for his Facebook group. All gone now. All gone, Charlie. If you are listening. By the way, I love Android users. Absolutely love Android users. They're the salt of the earth, if you ask me. Hi, Kirsty. How you doing? So yeah, there's. I think that is going to be a good little point. And I know you've been playing around as well, haven't you, with the betas and everything else. So you've had the opportunity to see the desk view, it's called, isn't it? On your Apple phone, on your iPhone. So I think that looks cool, right? I mean, from a business point of view, having it sat there while it's charging and also giving you an extra bit of real estate that's going to tell you your next calendar meeting or something like that. Very similar to what we were talking about in that Logitech's fancy little solution, right?
Yep.
This is kind of taking that to the next level. Actually, probably a better one because you're going to have more functionality with it and everything else goes with it. So
I was disappointed that wasn't released into iPads.
I got a feeling that's one of those that is next year's big buzz. Yeah. Oh, we're bringing it to iPad as well. So
yeah, iPads are normally a year behind, aren't they? So.
They are unfortunately, or 20 if it's the calculator app. Yeah, so I was excited about those little things. I think the watch is getting a much needed update as well. I think that's going to bring some life into it. And then they did it, didn't they? The one more thing, as you've already mentioned. And I think just the fact that they brought in the idea of one more thing was exciting. So for everyone who's wasn't aware of it, they have brought in the like you said, the VR AR headset that's come through. Initial thoughts for me is this isn't, again, designed for everyone. This isn't going to be well, especially at the price, $3,500. Let's be honest. But this isn't designed to be a new, thing that everyone's going to have. This is about people who are going to have the early adoption. You are buying into almost a beta. You are buying into a SDK kit, as they call it. What I am impressed about it, because I've used VR relatively extensively. I was the first person to file a corporation tax return in VR. I've filed a VAT return in VR. In fact, Accounting Web did an interview with me on Friday about my experience of filing in VR and what that means and everything else. And from my point of view, I do see VR as something we are going to be using more often. But I think, as you said, that AR is actually more exciting. There is more use case from a business point of view for us. And I feel like what Apple is showing is that's going to be something that we could use in the business environment. That whole process of them in the office and they've still got it on and they're walking around from A to B. If I tried to walk around with that on, I am going to have a broken arm. I'd probably fall down some stairs. It's not designed for moving around. It isn't that device, even though it's completely wireless and everything else. That's not what it's for. So what you're paying for is that element of it, right?
Yeah.
Am I convinced about the idea that you should be at your at some sort of important event, like a birthday party, kid's birthday party, for example, as they showed there, and you've got this sat on with your goggly eyes on. Not so sure about that.
Just to take a 3D photo.
Yeah. Do I think that in September, when the iPhone gets announced Pro, that they're going to bringing in 4D photos into there? Probably, and then that's where it'll actually make more sense, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of see what's happening there and bring it on. The fact that it's got an M2 chip in, which is the same as what we were just talking about with the MacBook there, and we said is perfect for everything. It's going to be a powerhouse. It's going to have what we needed. And yes, I'll be getting it at some point, and hopefully day one. Do I think this is the one that people should be going into? Not at all. I think this is what's going to happen in 3-4 years' time when the next iteration, the iteration of that comes out. Then I think we're onto something special. Yeah. What were your thoughts on Apple Vision Pro or Vision Apple Pro? Apple Vision. Which way around is it? Apple Vision Pro, right?
Yeah,
Vision Pro.
Yeah, Apple Vision Pro. I'm loving it. There's a lot of people questioning the value of it. $3,500.
Including Adam, just here.
Including Adam, which fair enough. I think Paul also made a comment about the price. But my argument would be, my understanding is that I'm going to put this headset on and I'm going to have, they showed in the demos like 3 monitors, right? That they can be web browsing and working from and stuff. And my understanding is those monitors are up to 4K resolution.
Well, it's 4K per eye, isn't it? So technically 8K.
So my question to you would be, how much would it cost to go out and buy 3 4K monitors that are ultra wide, like the ones they showed you in the demo? Because I think you'll be getting very close to 3.5K if you wanted to replicate the same vision, but with physical monitors. So actually, I don't think it's all that expensive in the grand scheme of things for what it can do. But the question you need to ask is, do I need to give every employee 3 4K monitors to do their work on? No, not at all. Like they don't need it whatsoever. So for that reason, it is far too expensive for that purpose.
Yes, yeah.
But if you're sat there editing video and you're a content producer, then actually for that headset to be feasibly usable, you need 4K monitors.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're using physically. So actually for people like that, then yes, it is affordable from that point of view, because you are scrapping the need for 4K monitors.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have opened a Starling pot and I am already putting money into it to pay for these when they come out next year. I'm excited by them. I have done a lot of reviewing videos in the last few days on what is already out there, and the Meta Pro is by far the best one out there, but it's still nowhere near the quality of what Apple is about to launch. So yeah, like Aaron's got it there. He's managed to file his VAT returns and stuff in there, but anything above that, really, like you couldn't do video editing on it because there's too much lag between doing everything. But yeah, I think this is a very exciting time. And if you look at how quick AI, which we'll talk about in a bit, has launched and how quickly it's developed in the world that we're in today, in literally 9 months, it's gone from nothing to everything's powered by AI.
Yeah.
If you take that kind of growth, I don't think we'll see that kind of growth when it comes to VR and AR, but I think we will see a faster level of growth than we've seen in other devices in the past.
Yeah. No, I feel like that's what this device is about, right? It's about giving, as I think LinkedIn user says here, UI and CX user are also going to get a real boost. Absolutely. Like you as client engager could create a app in VR for this. easily. You're already looking at getting your
developers already stressing about it. Like,
but that's how user friendly it's going to be, right? You could do that in no problem whatsoever, because as soon as you got over the hurdle of creating your first client facing app, which I know you're looking at, and that could be X amount of time down the line, but once you've got over that hurdle, it's fine. That you would never even consider building it for, because what would be the use case for what? So Aaron can use it because he's the only one who's got one, right? That wouldn't work, right? Yep. And I feel like that's where this potentially gives a huge amount of upside to, because any developer can just flick a toggle effectively, and it will be available in that setting. And I feel like that train scenario you said there about before about editing on your iPad, love that idea. But imagine you were editing with that on, and it was just your iPad mini that was sat there with an M2 chip already in it, just doing everything it needs to. Sit back and you can just get those editing done in unlimited amount of space, unlimited amount of what. And yes, there's going to be some kind of social aspect to it to begin with, in terms of, is it acceptable to sit on a train with that on? They showed it in a plane, didn't they? And is that really acceptable? But I feel like this device has a more that googly eye things at the front was for me was a bit weird at first. I thought that's strange, but more I think about it, actually that makes sense, because when I'm wearing that, Chrissy walks in to give me a cup of tea or whatever, it's awkward, it's odd, it's weird, and if anything,
before or after the headset,
both. but it is though. It's like it doesn't quite work. You're in this immersed area. You're trying to do whatever you're doing, for me, filing a VAT return, whatever. And if someone then kind of taps you on the shoulder or something, it doesn't work, right? And if anything, it's dangerous. Whereas that, it's got this fancy solution where if someone does come up to you, so if someone did come up to ask you if you want a cup of tea or something, they're going to see you seeing them, and there's going to be interaction there. So I feel like that's the secret sauce that no one's really thought of. And all the news has been how weird it looks and odd it looks. But actually, this could be something that is actually going to be really important for people using it out and about.
So let's take that concept of that secret sauce. So you're saying there, is it acceptable to wear it on planes and trains? I think it's more acceptable because of that feature than it has been to wear headphones up to this point on trains.
True.
Because the amount of train conductors, they'll come past and they try and get someone's ticket, and they've got the headphones in, and they're just deaf to the world. Like, I always, whenever I've got headphones in on the train, normally only wear one because I like to hear what's going on around me.
Yeah.
And B, I always have it on transparency mode.
Yeah.
Now, the new update from Apple that is coming out to the headphones means that it's intelligent enough to know that someone's just walked up to you and started speaking to you. So it automatically goes into transparency mode so you can have that conversation.
Yeah.
That makes headphones more acceptable on trains and planes. So I think the fact that the headsets are coming with that from day one is a major thing that will knock down some of those pre-built walls as to whether it's socially acceptable.
I think you're right. Yeah. And it's going to be a much more, it's going to be a quicker adoption to that. Like I'll always remember when I first made a payment on my phone, on my Apple Watch, where I made a payment and everyone's like, "Whoa!" Now it's, if you don't make a payment on your watch, people are like, "What are you doing? What's this card thing you're getting out?" What's this? You know what I mean? Like it's that fast to adapt and adopt that sort of change of people's perception of things. And I think this has got that opportunity. That the other use case that I was thinking of is, we're trying to make these grid walks a real thing, right? Like we want to. What if one day our grid walk is literally we've just got that on our head and we're walking around showing it from there? Like you don't have to have that additional equipment. You could just be walking around a show floor, recording it live.
And instead of taking 3D photos with it, we're 3D filming.
Exactly.
From it. And then our listeners and viewers could put their headsets on and feel like they're having the 3D tour of that's incredible.
Yeah. And I feel like that's where it's going to. It's going to take a while, and it's not going to be day one. And hey, there'll be bugs and there'll be issues and there'll be problems with it, but that's what it is. And I think, I feel like that's the That's the thing. Will it be portable enough to use on a train? What is the battery like powerbook, charging stuff? That thing there, if I wanted to, I could take on a train. And that's bigger. It comes in carrying case. It goes from there. From what we can tell, it seems like it's going to have a nice little carry case, and you'll just throw it in your bag.
Yeah, and it's got a detachable battery, so you can run by the mains while you're sat at your desk. But it's got a battery that has got 2 hours charge on it, I believe. So for a commuter, it's absolutely fine. Whether a USB socket on a train is enough to charge it from the mains, I don't know. But yes, it's not going to do a 12-hour flight at all.
Unless you've got an external battery pack.
Yeah. But the external battery pack it comes with does 2 hours. So
yeah, but you could put that into another one. You could change.
You could have multiple battery packs.
Yeah.
I think it's coming for the majority to be able to use it on their daily routine. I think that'd be absolutely fine. Kirsty's asked what transparency mode is. So
these Android users, right? You just have to explain them in a different way. If you could just roll it back and start again, she'll be absolutely fine.
So on AirPods, I think, to be fair, on quite a lot of AirPods now, like headphones and stuff, most of them now have this ability to have what's called transparency mode. So you can still listen to your podcasts, you can still listen to your audiobooks and your music, but the mic in the headset builds in what's going on around you into that volume. So it's as if you're walking around with a stereo and you can still hear what's going on around you, compared to most headphones where you put them in and that's it, you're shut off from the world. So that's what transparency mode is in headphones.
And the clever thing about this new transparency, I can't remember what they're calling it, but the new one is they showed a great example of something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They're showing examples of where you walk past a building site, for example, and drill and all this out. It will then dim the drilling and everything else, not just for you, but also if you're on a phone call to the other person, and try and adapt and bring it down. So that's what transparency mode is. It's almost like it's an hearing device, right? Hearing aid device that's going through, and it should be cool. Hi, Ashley. Glad that you were able to join us as well. Don't worry, we've noted down the late arrival, and it'll be good.
Not even 15 minutes late, I'd point out.
Cool. So non-noise cancelling. Yeah, effectively. Exactly. Yeah, effectively. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was exciting, wasn't it? There was a lot of buzz around it. It's had a lot of kind of news going through it. So yeah, and that's a good thing, right? That means more people are going to be maybe more acceptable of it when it goes into the wild. So we've just got to unfortunately sit and wait. Yep. We don't even have a time, do we? So
no,
we'll see.
That's it. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Speaking
of waiting, game now.
Yeah. Speaking of waiting, I've heard that we've been waiting for something called Making Tax Digital for ITSA for X amount of time. There you go. There's a segue for you. So basically, Making Tax Digital has had a national audit of National Audit Office review statistics done on it, and they've had a look at it just to see if it's doing okay. Was it within budget? Did it meet its times? Did it deliver what it was supposed to? Well, I'm pleased to announce that it was only £1 billion over budget. Sorry, when you do that, you have to do it this way.
At the moment.
At the moment, yeah, it's not released yet, obviously. So we are £1 billion over budget. For people who've been living under a rock, we're also 3 years overdue with it now, or pushed back now. Yeah. There is other costs that still need to come in. Not only that £1 billion of costs. I mean, I've not read it properly, but I assume that's just looking at HMRC's costs. What about all of the bridges they've burnt with developers and the QuickBooks of the world and the smaller ones of the world who have developed and put all of this time and energy into filing it so that people like myself who are early adopters can file our returns. It seems like a bit of a mess. And also, just to kind of put this into full circle, on Tuesday last week, was Tuesday, wasn't it? Was it Wednesday? One of the days I was at the Get Connected show with QuickBooks. I was talking on stage, and HMRC followed me, and they were one of the others on stage as well. And they were talking about MTD and trying to kind of put some positivity. What surprised me the most of how many times she had to confirm and explain that it's been delayed and it's only for 50,000 to begin with, going down to 30,000, etc. There was a lot of people in the room who had no idea that was actually going to be the case. So
more people need to be listening to this podcast.
They certainly, yeah, exactly. That's why I should have put my hand up and explained. Yeah. But yeah, it's a mess, right? I mean, what else do we take from this? It's just embarrassing at this point, right?
I mean, the National Audit Office was scathing in its report. Like, overall, it pointed out HMRC were incompetent. They'd blown their budget, and they're currently projected to spend 1.3 billion on a 226 million pound project. They've fundamentally destroyed working relationships with all stakeholders, and like ITSA's on its fourth delay already. And they even pointed out that HMRC failed to declare costs to stakeholders at the start of this, so the government weren't able to take a more informed decision. And the National Audit Office is now projecting that doing MTD is a cost of about £10,000 per taxpayer to the taxpayer themselves to change all their systems and modernise on average. So yeah, and they have put in there at the end of their report, in their conclusion, as it were, that they highly recommend a new report to be done by HMRC so that government can review it and decide on its future. So after all of this, it might get scrapped entirely anyway.
Yeah, because they did say actually on the talk, I think it was the November statement, they're expecting announcement of what's going to happen for the 10K or the below 30K, should I say? Because they are still thinking that they're going to go 30 to 10 and then kind of review from there, aren't they? As a next milestone. But
yeah, we've still got to do corporation tax.
That's exactly my words. Yeah, like 1.5 billion pound in, or whatever the number is, and corporation tax, and that's going to be way more. Like, think about how much. It's very, very scary just how this has got so much out of hand. And if I think back to my experience of, and I'm still doing it now, filing it, it's janky and it's not perfect, but it works now. Like, we do have a working model.
Yeah.
Yes, there was going to be cases where it didn't work, so maybe it should have just been a opt-in. But you know, if you can give yourself a good enough reason, you get a 3-year grace, like we did on MTD for that. Like, it just felt like at this point you've put that much money in, you've done all this work, surely you just have to pull the plug and accept the fallout. There's already a fallout. Like, try and get something out of it, try and find some positivity out of it. So yeah, it's not looking good. And the relationship, like you said about the stakeholders, especially the business, the developers, like, why would they want to invest any more into these sort of things? Like, what are they going to benefit out of it? How many times we on the show have said that, company XYZ is now no longer with us anymore because they put all their eggs in one basket and it never happened. So yeah, it's an absolute mess. And I feel like this is the start of untangling that, and it's just going to get worse and worse, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is a mess, but what else can we... Accounting Web put a great article on this morning about it. So if anyone wants to look into it more, please feel free to go and have a look at that. Tom has done a fantastic job as always, breaking that down. So
yeah, in fact, I'll link it in the chat now so everyone can see it. The thing that as well, I was like at that conversation and talking to HMRC and listening to the other accountants and what their problems are, it all came down to you wanting to modernize and make these solutions easier for us, but then at the same time, there's no connections. You're asking us to having to sign up to a brand new portal that portal doesn't give us as much functionality as our old portal, etc., etc. And it's those disconnects that really grind our gears, right? Like if they want us to move it over and they want, they want to lean on accountants to basically be the voice of making tax digital and pushing make tax digital, because they'll deny it, but they were just hoping that accountants would just do all the heavy lifting, right? Explaining and what it's worth and what it needs to do and everything else. And software developers will do it as well. Whereas in reality, that was never, because even the accountants were confused. Even accountants weren't getting the right advice, and they're behind on it. So, yeah, it's difficult. And when their whole answer to all of this was, well, we need your feedback, but the only way you can give us feedback is to be part of one of the members, ICAW, AAT, etc., and only a select few of those will be able to talk to us about it as well. So, yeah, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better, isn't it?
Definitely is. It definitely is. Speaking of things that are getting better, though, because we're starting to run out of time here, ChatGPT's had an update.
It certainly has.
Yeah.
And you've been playing with it all weekend, haven't you?
I have been playing with it most of yesterday. So basically, ChatGPT, the paid-for version, not the free version. So this will come to the free version in the next month or two. If you look at the way ChatGPT works, it can now connect to the internet. It doesn't learn and it doesn't retain information from the internet for prosperity's purposes. But basically, if I ask it a question in a conversation, it will go to the internet, it will do a Google search, it will read the top 10 pages or something from that search, analyze it and feed back to me and do some research for me. But then when I close that conversation down, that's it gone. It forgets all of that information. So it's still able to maintain privacy. And I think basically this is a reaction to Bing and to Google being able to connect to the internet and people jumping ship to them, basically. Now, what's interesting is it is still using, when it's connecting to the internet, it is still using Bing as the search engine.
Oh, okay.
Which is upsetting me because I'd much rather it use Google, but yeah, it's using Bing.
I don't know what Google is anymore. I've completely converted.
I tried to use the Bing one the other day. Oh, Microsoft Edge, and then I just deleted it. I said, I like to be at the forefront of tech, but this is too painful. So I just deleted that. But yeah, I have been playing with it, and I've got one conversation that I've kept very long and I just keep going back to, so that way it maintains that knowledge that it's learnt in that conversation. And yeah, it's coming out with some good stuff. It's certainly better at generating ideas for LinkedIn posts, etc.
Did you ask the question? Did you ask?
One?
Does it know what Asset Accountant is?
So it does know we're a podcast.
Okay.
But it doesn't know much more. So it seems to get a bit confused still as to whether it should be searching the internet or just looking at its knowledge base up to September 2021. So, you can ask the question once and it will go, I don't know anything after 2021, so I can't help you. And then you ask the same question again and it suddenly starts searching the internet.
Okay.
So I think there's still some bugs in it. That's why it's in beta. That's why it's in the paid for beta and stuff. But that's fine. I gave it Tom's article from Accounting Web first thing this morning, said, here's a link to an article, please review it and summarize it. And it did an all right job. I would argue it's not picked out the points I would class as summary, but it did it. It connected to the internet. It can cite its sources and stuff. So yeah, it's fine. But yeah, it's an interesting development, another step forward for ChatGPT and another ton of use cases basically to enable us to research new blogs and posts and stuff like that.
Yeah, no. I know how powerful it can be because of the Bing integration, so I can see that. I just looking forward to that point, like you said, where the bugs have gone away and it will start doing that. But then at some point, how powerful do we let it become? Like, is there a point where we just got to start holding it back? And I'm not worried about it taking over the world or anything, but there's got to be a point, right, where we've got to just hold it back, and because otherwise it could get out of hand that people literally won't be thinking about their own things anymore. They'll just be Chat GPT in it all the way, won't they? So yeah, I suppose that's what the benefit of it not having the internet was. It was always kind of hamstrung into a point. It was amazing. It could go so far, but it held it back. So we'll see how it kind of brings it.
Do you think in September 2023 they'll let it go to September 2022?
Oh, when it's always a year behind. Okay.
And it's master knowledge, and then it can search the internet on a conversation basis.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Right? Yeah. That would make sense. We're vastly running out of time, so just quickly say goodbye to the chat. Adam, Chrome all the way. So we could have an Android versus iOS and a Chrome versus Edge / Safari. I know what's going to win that one. Don't worry, we're a Chrome all the way as well. So it doesn't matter how good you make Safari. I'll use it time and time again. But and I fully run on Edge Bing with SharePoint integration directly on Edge. Only thing I don't use is Maps. Still have a link to Google Maps because it's so much better. Yeah, so it is. Although I have moved to Apple Maps now because that integrates better with my car, and it comes up on a VR unit basically at the front. AR unit at the front. So
it's only led you wrong a few times.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up in Edinburgh when I should have been in London. It's fine, you close, right? They're almost there,
Spitting difference.
Yeah, it was fine. Both have Apple stores. What do I care? So that's it. That is today's Ask the Accountant done and dusted. Yep. Remember, if you do have any questions, then don't forget to use our little question box that we put in each and every week, and you can go in and talk to us and ask questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer them. If you are listeners back from one of the podcast services of your choice, then why not think about joining us live 8:30 a.m. each and every Monday. We have got some really cool content coming your way. Ask the Accountant, we have cool friends. We're going to be live streaming from Digital Accounting Show itself, and we've got a whole load of cool friends due on Friday, so keep your eyes out and ears out for that one. They should be going live in for the next 2 weeks. We stagger them for the next 2 weeks, and you'll see them coming through. But if you do see us at the Digital Accounting Show, do come and say hi, because that's what it's all about, right? Let us know that you are a fan of the show, and and we will have a great little conversation with yourself, and especially if you're coming by yourself, because that's the best thing, right? Like, that's the whole point of these events. Get talking to people, get networking, and you'll get the most out of it. Johann, what have you got to plug, talk about? Anything coming up your end? Obviously, there's a little thing called Digital Accounting Show, right? What else?
Digital Accountancy Show, busy day on Thursday. There could be another feature release on Friday night for Client Engager. Could be. I'm just waiting for it to be released in beta to myself on tomorrow. So if that goes all well, then there will be a release Friday night for Client Engager, and I will reveal more later in the week.
It's a bit early for your VR integration, but you keep cracking on.
Don't. I've already tried planting that seed. Between VR, AR, and AI, I think our developers can have a mental breakdown.
Is it the Apple Car integration then? Is that what?
No. I do not endorse using a practice management software while driving.
Yet.
Ever.
For me, I have obviously got Digital Accounting Show, which I look forward to. We've got the Ask the Accountant. And if you are in the Manchester region, why not come over to get connected on, what day is it going to be? What day is it actually? It's Wednesday. Yes. Yeah, because there's a bit of a logistical nightmare, let's say, to get in from Manchester to London. But if you are in the Manchester area, why not come and say hi? Come along to get connected. You get to listen to HMRC talk about a load of rubbish. You get to see Carl Reader talking about good stuff. We like that. And also myself, and I'm talking all about pro tax and how it's how good it can be when done in the right way. So yeah, good to see you there. As I said before, if you do see us, say hi to the Accounting Show. As Adam says, have a great week and enjoy, everyone. Take care, and we will see you next week. All about Digital Accounting Show, what we learned, what we saw, and yeah, it'll be a good one. So we'll see you next week. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.